On this week's show, what exactly is a rent-to-rent?
The 5-point checklist to successfully investing in HMOs.
We meet a now successful investor who started his journey 4 years ago by watching YouTube videos.
And in the news, we are going to be revealing which European city has retained top position in the European buy-to-let hotspot list.
Welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're here every single Friday at 4 p.m. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Enjoy this week's show and don't forget to share it with all your friends. Hi, I'm Russell Leeds.
I'm Alistair Cunningham.
And welcome to this week's Property Investors Podcast. It has been an interesting week.
It's been very busy, hasn't it?
We have been...
Seem to have spent a long time together this week.
Yeah. It's been a depressing week.
Yeah, it's been hard. It's been dragging on, I know that
We've been doing sort of job interviews. Yeah. We had a brilliant idea, which we've actually filmed. So I'm sure at some point we'll share this.
Yeah, that was an interesting day. It was very against sort of the grain for job interviews, wasn't it?
It was. It was very much a case of well, it was like I don't know. It was like nothing I've ever seen. But I'm sure we'll play it. But basically, we did a day full of interviews. We ran it like an event. We had 75 people book on within 12 hours of putting the ad out. It was hardcore.
You know what I liked about it? There was no like official job titles. So literally, you just put it out there and you said to people, "Look, we're looking for some staff. If you feel you can help the business in any way, come along, pitch us, show us, tell us everything about it, and then we'll take it from there."
Yeah, and we ended up hiring 5 people.
Yeah.
So
good day, successful day,
and really good people as well.
Really deserving.
The standard of the people that came along was really high. There wasn't anyone that came along that you thought. Oh, we were saying this to you actually, wasn't it? When you do a normal interview, it's very hard to judge because you can't really compare them to other people.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, it was like, okay, well they're really good, but they're really good, and we can't take on everyone. So who's the absolute best? It was great. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Right. So this week's show. First of all, we talk about what exactly is a rent to rent, and we talk about rent to rent, rent to service accommodation, rent to HMO a lot. So we're going to go now into the very basics of exactly what it is. And even if you already know about rent to rent, I think you might learn quite a lot. So Samuel's now going to explain to us what actually is rent to rent. What does it mean?
Yo, what's up? Samuel Leeds here, and on this video I wanted to tell you exactly what is rent to rent. So if you've been wondering and hearing the term rent to rent and not know exactly what it is, in this video I'm going to explain what it is. I'm also going to show you how, if you understand how to use this strategy of rent to rent, how you can make serious cash flow every single month, starting with very little. Effectively, rent to rent is when you rent a property off a landlord, and usually it will be a reasonably low rent. It will be off a particular type of landlord and a particular type of property. This doesn't work with every house and with every landlord. So let me pre-qualify firstly the landlord. The landlord, it has to be a landlord who is happy to receive a low guaranteed rent. So he can't be a landlord that wants as much as he can possibly get every single month and he's looking to really, no, it needs to be someone who's more hands-off, that just wants a quiet life, no hassle, and he wants a guaranteed rent. That needs to be the qualification of the landlord. The qualification of the house needs to be that the house can achieve a lot more rent than it is currently doing. So what kind of house would that be? Well, there can be different types of examples. One might be, it could be that the house is a big house and it's being rented out, and it could be rented out into different separate units. So that could be a HMO, for example. This is the most popular type of rent to rent. So you've got a 5-bed house, the landlord is renting the whole thing out for £600 a month, and it's near a city centre, and you think, he's renting it for $600 per month for the whole house. But if I came in and just furnished the property, made it a bit prettier, maybe paid for all the utility bills, which might cost me a few £100 a month, I could then re-rent out the rooms for £400 a month, which would be considerably more profitable. So it needs to be a house where you can increase the rent. Another example would be maybe if it's just a little studio apartment in a city centre and it's renting out for £500 a month, this little studio apartment, you could think, That little studio apartment, with a little bit of creativity, if I was to put a key safe outside the apartment and was to furnish it and include the bells, I could rent that out as a hotel, like a hotel without staff. I could list this property on Airbnb and Booking.com, and instead of getting maybe £500 a month, I could get £500 every few days in rent from guests. So you can massively raise the rent on that. So if you can find a property where you can massively raise the rent, and then a landlord who just wants a nice simple guaranteed rent, he doesn't want to mess around, maybe he's old school, he doesn't want to take risks, he hasn't got the inclination, he hasn't got the time, he might not even have the few £1,000s of money to put it in the way that it needs to be, you can find those two people together. That's when you can do a rent to rent. And effectively all you'll do is you'll just offer to give the landlord a guaranteed rent where you know, and the key to this is always you know. It's always down to your knowledge. It's always down to your due diligence and you being able to be the smart person in the game that can give the landlord what he wants, can change the property's use to make to push the rents up, and then of course you in the middle keep the difference. So you'll give the landlord what he wants, you'll rent the property out for more, and then you'll keep the difference. Now, I wouldn't suggest doing a rent to rent unless the difference is at least £500 a month. So, because it's not worth the hassle. If you're messing around, secured the deal with the landlord, then you're gonna make £200 a month, I don't think it's worth the hassle. So I'll be saying at least £500. Now, some of my properties and some of my students have, and you can check up on the other videos, but some of my students have got rent to rents where they're making £1,000 plus per rent to rent property, and they've paid practically nothing to do this and to secure these types of deals. So that's what rent to rent is. How are you gonna find these types of rent to rents? Well, you can find these agents from networking, you can find them online, you can find them through agents. You just need to find the right kind of property, the right kind of landlord where you can offer that sort of deal. That is rent to rent. Very, very popular strategy here in the UK at the moment, and very low entry point. You don't need any qualifications to do a rent to rent. You don't need a lot of money. Again, I've got students that have come into this country with nothing and they're doing rent to rents within literally a few months. You do need to make sure you do it properly. So you're gonna need a proper agreement. The type of agreement you're gonna need is you're gonna need a corporate let management agreement. So you can't do this with just normal ASTs. Some people say, you know, oh, is this illegal? It's illegal when you do it wrong on the wrong contracts. Then it would be classed as subletting. When you do rent to rent legally, it's completely above board. It's something that even we've got solicitors who are in our academy and they're doing this strategy. We've got estate agents doing this strategy. So hopefully that's kind of cleared up what rent to rent is.
So that's kind of what rent to rent is. Rent to rent is very different from subletting, which is obviously illegal.
Whoa. Hold on, we need to clarify that. I'm not convinced. I was speaking to a lawyer last week and they informed me that subletting is not actually illegal. It's just a breach of contract.
Well,
so I'm not 100% sure. I need to look into it a bit more.
I'm pretty sure that subletting is illegal.
Not according to this lawyer. They said it's just a breach of contract.
Okay.
So I don't know. Have a look on your phone. Let's see. Let's do our homework.
We're doing our homework right here, right now on the Property Investors Podcast. This is
not?
how we roll. This is how we research.
Roll.
Hold on. Is subletting illegal?
Obviously, if it's on Google, it's going to be right. So,
all right. This is what Google says if you search "is subletting illegal?" Illegal sublet. So it's good case for me to begin with. The fact that it's called illegal sublet.
Okay.
A sublet the landlord hasn't agreed to. Penalties for illegal subletting. Again, it used the word illegal. They can and probably will evict you if they find out. Okay. Subletting social housing, on the other hand, is a criminal offence, punishable by hefty fines and prison sentences of up to 2 years. Okay,
right, but that's if you've used a standard AST contract.
Well, that's what subletting is, isn't it?
No.
Yes.
So what happens if you... So on a rent to rent is not going to be on an AST contract, is it?
Yeah, but... No, but a rent to rent is not subletting. We're talking about subletting now, which is using an AST contract.
Sorry, yeah.
Your point is that subletting is not illegal. My point is that it is.
I'm gonna have to sack my lawyer. I'll admit that I might need to do a little bit more research about that.
To be fair, though, what it doesn't say. It says subletting on social housing is a criminal offence.
Yeah.
It's still called illegal subletting, but I imagine probably the biggest punishment on a normal house is they will evict you.
Yeah.
Which I suppose isn't the end of the world.
I think either way, you need to just make sure you're doing it correctly and seek legal advice. Not from my lawyer, because he's obviously sucks, but a good lawyer.
Yeah. But look, either way, it's either illegal or it's a breach of contract. You don't want to be doing either. Okay.
No,
so you now know what rent to rent is. That's the difference. Subletting is like Alistair just mentioned when you get an AST, and you know, you're supposed to be living in there, but instead you let it out yourself,
So,
which obviously you're not allowed to do.
On rent to rent, then, what contract would you be using?
You're using a management contract.
Management contract. Yep.
Yeah. So basically, you turn into an agent.
Yes.
In essence.
And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong with rent to rent, is they think they don't really understand that side of it. They just think they start ringing up agents and they say, I want to do a rent to rent. It's not actually what you're doing.
No, well, I always say this, that rent to rent, in my opinion, is a terrible name, because it's not. You're not really rent to rent.
No.
Because you're not renting it.
No.
You're managing it. You're managing it to rent.
Yeah.
Maybe, or just managing. You could just be called managing.
Yeah. It is interesting because, I mean, how do you like rent to rent? I mean, I'm not a massive fan of rent to rent.
Go on, why not?
Because you don't actually own anything.
So.
And also,
you don't own anything with deal sourcing. You're a bit of a fan of deal sourcing.
Yes. Listen, I've got an argument for both. I want to accrue property and accrue assets.
Yeah.
So rent to rent's good.
Do you know a great way?
Making,
Do you know a great way of accruing property and accruing assets?
Building cash flow to buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
do you know a
rent to
great
rent's
way
good.
of building cash flow when you haven't got cash?
Yeah, rent to rent.
Yeah.
But if you let me finish instead of constantly interrupting me,
I'd rather constantly interrupt you.
I'm not a fan of rent to rents in certain aspects. Some of it I am. Like I like rent to rent service accommodation, but I don't particularly like rent to rent HMOs.
Okay.
I much prefer service accommodation because the cash flow is much bigger, so you've got a much bigger cushion if things go wrong slightly.
I'm not
if you have a HMO,
massive fan of rent to rent HMO either.
Yeah, if you have like a HMO where you're only making maybe £100 profit per room, I just think it's an awful lot of trouble.
Do you know why I don't like HMO? There's a few reasons, right? Number one, I think it would be better on a larger house.
Yeah.
So if it was like a 7 or an 8 bed, then it would work really well. But then you've got the hassle of having to get it licensed, and you've got to put the fire doors in. With service accommodation, you pretty much don't have to do anything.
The whole idea of rent to rent is like it's like a low entry to barrier, isn't it? So like it's a low cash in. So if you take like a rent to rent HMO, for instance, or let's say a rent to rent 5 or 6 bedroom property, you're going to convert it into a HMO. You've got to spend £5,000-6,000 converting it to a HMO, and then getting a license, and then renting it out. So
just for them to kick you out.
Exactly, it suddenly becomes not a low entry to barrier. So I'm all for rent to rent service accommodation, but I'm not the biggest fan of rent to rent HMOs.
It could work well if you were if it was already a HMO.
Yeah.
So Joe, for example, if there was like a HMO that for whatever reason the landlord wasn't doing a very good job of renting out, maybe a bit like your lease option, it needed a couple of grand spending on it just to spruce it up and get it to a good standard, and you could take it on a long-term lease, do it up. It's already got the fire doors in, it's already got all the license, all that sort of stuff, and you can just take over it from that point. I think it could work very well.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Listen, there's some people out there that are really smashing it with rent to rent HMOs. That's their strategy. That's their thing.
The people that I know that are really smashing it on rent to rent are smashing it for rent to SA.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, rent to rent works for some people, which is awesome. Well done to you guys. It's just I'm not a massive fan of it. I know Russell's not. Rent to rent SA does really well.
But if anyone's done any rent to rents, we'd love to know your figures and sort of stuff and see how you guys are getting on. So if you're doing this already, please do comment below with your stories, your figures, how much you're making, how much you had to put in, what was your ROI, because I mean you can get like literally, I know like Leslie's got rent to rents where her ROI is over 1,000%.
Yeah, on SAs.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's just like outrageously good.
There's also that guy from Raheem from Cardiff. He was on Winners on a Wednesday about 3-4 months, maybe 2 months ago.
Doesn't he do? He just rent.
He does rent HMOs in Cardiff, and I think he's got 4 or 5 now, and he's doing. I think over the from I might be wrong, but from my memory, over the 4 or 5 properties he's got, he's making about £2,000 profit a month.
I think if you're going to do HMOs, you need to make sure that you tick the 5-point checklist.
Yeah.
If you're going to do HMOs, you need to do them. There's so many people now that are doing HMOs right. In fact, let's share with you now the 5-point checklists for what you need to make sure you do if you're going to go into HMOs.
Hey, Samuel Leeds here, and I want to show you something that just blows my mind in property. You see there's 2 houses right next to each other. This house right here with the black door gives a total rental income of £12,000 a year. But the house next door to it, which is actually a cheaper house because it's a mid-terraced rather than an end-terraced, the house next door brings in £30,000 a year, more than double the rent. How on earth does the house next door bring in more than double the rent? Well, how it does it is because it's used as a HMO. A HMO is simply when you rent out a house, rather than renting it out as a whole house to a family, you rent it out on a room by room basis. Now, if there's 5 or more rooms rented out, we call that a HMO. If there's 3 or 4 rooms rented out, like a mini HMO, we just call that a multi-let property. And the reason HMOs are so popular now in the UK is because you can literally turn a normal house into a cash cow, something that's giving you serious money each month. And there's a few things you need to consider when buying a HMO. Firstly, you need to be like, right now, we are right in the city centre. We're in Lichfield, so we are like maybe a 5-minute walk from a city centre, which you've got to be. If you're buying a property, the rooms will not rent out if you're in the middle of nowhere. If you're in some field in Wales, it's not going to work, so it needs to be close to the city centre. Number 2, if you're renting rooms out, they can't be little cot rooms because it's just not legal. If it's got 5 bedrooms or more, you're going to need a licence. So the house has to be fit. It has to be, the bedrooms have to be a minimum of 70 square feet or 6.5 metres. And you've got to have decent sized kitchen where they're going to be sharing the kitchen, half a metre of worktop space per tenant. So it's going to be a decent sized house. Don't worry about the garden, don't worry about a drive, it doesn't need any of that stuff, but actually inside, it's got to be fit, it's got to be habitable. You're going to need to have a license for the property. So anything with 5 or more people, you're going to need to get a license. And a HMO license will cost you around about anywhere between sort of £500 and £1,200 that you'll have to renew every 5 years. Number 3, the house is going to have to be in mint condition. Now, I personally like to either buy properties that are already in mint condition or add a lot of value and then refinance them. But if you try and rent out a HMO, a room, and the houses are shabby and the rooms are shabby and the furniture is shabby, what's going to happen is you're going to attract shabby tenants. A dog kennel attracts dogs. So you've got to make sure your HMO is nice, it's professional, so you get the best kind of tenants. Number 4 is it's got to be managed by somebody because HMOs are quite difficult to manage. So you need a letting agency in the area that are close by and happy to manage HMOs. Now, you can't just find a run-of-the-mill high street letting agency. It needs to be someone that specialises in HMO, and that's what's going to bring you your true passive income. So where would you find someone that specialises in HMO management? Well, you can look on spareroom.co.uk and you can see other people's HMOs and who they're managed by and ring them in the area, or you can Google it, or you can ask referrals, or you can go in a high street, but just make sure if you do find a high street letting agency, they really do have experience in HMOs. Ask them how many current HMOs they've got in their books and get a real understanding if they know what they're doing or not. So step 5 to include things is how much are you actually going to be putting down in the first place. Now, I have a rule that says £30,000 per lettable room is about as high as I'll go. So for a 4-bed HMO, 120 is about as high as I'll go. If it's a 5-bed, I'll go up to 150. In Lichfield, is that possible? Maybe, if you know how to get a below market value deal, which I do on some of our other videos, you can check those out. So that's basically it. Make sure that the property's in good condition. When you rent it out, there's at least 4 lettable rooms. There's a HMO management company in the area. You're buying it at the right price. And lastly, it's very close to the city centre like these properties are. So
I think that was very sort of comprehensive video, kind of covered all the key points. And Lichfield, yep. Obviously you're moving to Lichfield, aren't you?
Potentially. Please, Lisa. No, potentially. I'm trying to persuade the wife. But yeah, maybe in the future.
Why are the key reasons you want to move to Lichfield?
Because you're pressurizing me to do it? No, because obviously because of what we're doing business-wise. We're doing a lot of business together.
But you wouldn't just move there, because if you're going to just do that, you could move somewhere horrible like Warsaw.
I could. Warsaw's cheap. I could move to get a nice house in Warsaw. No. I just want somewhere nice. If I'm going to move...
I kind of sat about Warsaw because I went to school, grew up in Warsaw.
If I am going to move, it's going to be to a nice part. I live in a reasonably nice area at the minute, but...
I thought you lived in Corby at the minute.
I do, but I live in the nice part. The nice part of Corby.
Nice part.
So yes, if I do decide to move up to Lichfield, yeah, move on. Lisa's watching and I can feel her looking at me. I'm going to hide.
In all seriousness, though, I would have thought. I mean, it's great that they rent out. Well, but literally, surely it's a bit expensive to do.
I would imagine it's a bit expensive because it doesn't fall into the whole £30,000 per lettable
Well, he
room.
said that maybe it could if you negotiated a B&V deal, but you'd have to be a damn good negotiator.
Well, if you are, you need to come along and get yourself booked onto the academy because we need you on the academy if you're that good at negotiating.
Yeah.
You'd
Or
be
you
awesome.
or just get Alistair a house. Forget the HMO thing.
No, but do you know, I remember driving through Lichfield after leaving Simon's house a few times, and there was quite a few properties with like handwritten signs up saying property for sale. There was quite a few of them.
Really?
Yeah. I think one of them was a HMO.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I don't think it'd be massive. I don't think it'd be the best area for HMOs, but it clearly works.
But if you follow those steps in your area, and you go in and you do it properly. It's funny they went in Jamin. I'm trying to get hold of Jamin at the moment. They're a nightmare. But
is that one of the agents? Was it Jamin?
Yeah.
Okay.
He went in Jamin and they were all friendly.
I
might go in actually. I might go in and go, look, show me this house.
I thought that's the one that kicked him out.
No, the one that kicked him out why did they get blurred out?
Yeah, why don't you just shame them?
Nick, why'd you?
Do you want to know who it is?
Yeah.
Chattings.
Who? Chattings.
Like we're chattings.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't even really know chat. I don't know. I've never ever used them.
Okay, maybe they were just shy and didn't want to be in
That's
camera.
who we rent our house from.
Really? I thought they like with you.
Pretty shit.
You've heard it from the horse's mouth. So we have a tenant who's probably going to get evicted next week now because he said his agent
No, don't worry. They don't know his name's Nick Mobley. He's fine.
They don't know it's
He's
Nick
fine.
Mobley.
He's
No,
fine.
no. That's cool.
Sorry,
Right,
Nick.
okay,
Sorry,
so-
Nick Mobley.
Good job, Lo. If somebody opens a HMO, you can have a room if he gets kicked out.
That's true. And they're renting out quickly though, so you have to get on it. Chattings won't deal with you though, apparently. Not if you take your camera in anyway. They won't like you.
Right. Okay. So that's pretty. Simon summed it up. We don't really need to go into too much detail, but he summed it up, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Right. So we're now going to meet a successful property investor. Started 4 years ago, and what I thought was really cool is he literally just started by watching YouTube videos.
Yeah. Really good.
So Samuel's going to interview him for us now.
Well, I came over to England in 1999 on a journey, basically, just a 6-week holiday. But I stayed, and I thought to myself, well, this is a lovely country, so I'm going to stay here.
I almost did the same when I went to South Africa.
It is beautiful, isn't it? It's absolutely fantastic. So basically, then my wife came over to actually join me on that, and we decided to buy our first house in 2001 together because we started our own little family. And since then, we've been interested in property, but our careers took off, so we needed to go and work and do our own things. But in 2009, when the crash happened, in 2008, 2009, basically my house rented out. It was rented out, and I saw I was getting more rent in than what I did before. And that triggered something in my mind that maybe you should look further into this because there's something that's actually happening there. In 2015, I was watching YouTube one day and your name pops up. And I thought to myself, okay, HMOs, do they really, really work?
Yeah.
And that's got me interested. And I thought, I'm going to come to a crash course just to see exactly what it's actually about.
So hang on a minute though, because 2015, that was like 4 years ago now.
Sorry, yes. So
it took you a long time to come to the crash
yeah.
course. What took you so long?
Oh, sorry, blooper again, yeah. But basically then we started looking up at that time, we were actually looking at property, but we couldn't afford to buy in our local area because prices had actually skyrocketed.
Yeah.
So was it in 2017, it was you on YouTube?
Yeah. I don't know, because I've been on YouTube since 2015. Maybe it took you a few years.
Yeah, well, I can't remember the exact dates, but I found you where you were actually on YouTube talking about HMOs.
Yeah.
And how you could take a 2 or 3 bed house and turn it into a 5 bed
Yeah.
house quite easily.
Yeah.
And make massive returns. So I decided to come and meet you.
Yeah.
And I went to the crash course, and I brought my father, my mother, and my wife as well to that crash course, and it was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
We walked away with that absolutely pinging with new ideas and new ways of doing things. So what we did was we invested up north
Yeah.
in single lets because that's the way that we like doing it, and we bought a nice one off your list as well, off your deal finding list, and we bought that for £40,000, and we get £450 a month rent for that.
So you bought it for 40,000 and
Yeah.
you're renting it for 450.
Yeah.
That is an incredible yield.
Yeah.
And I bet the return on investment is even better. Did you get a mortgage on that property?
Yes, the mortgage is £146 a month.
So the mortgage, is that interest only or repayments?
Repayments.
Repayments.
Yeah.
So you're paying £146 a month, and that's that's repayment. So the interest payments must be probably half that, I would imagine.
Yeah, so it's basically, in my mind, the way I like to do things is I go into an area where I don't just blindly walk into an area.
Yeah.
I first go into an area and look at the entire area to see what manufacturing is happening there, to see if there's any people building houses. And I found that the area that I chose to focus in, there was actually manufacturing being built. So people were building factories for people to work in. So that's how I choose my areas as well. So,
yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so the house that was rented out, and it's been absolutely fine since then.
And I think the cool thing is about that is not only is it giving you a really good return on investment, what kind of returns are you getting?
Over 20%.
Yeah, because I know you, like me, you won't touch it if it's less than 20%.
It's got to give me a good return before I get involved in it.
Yeah. But also, not only that, but these properties, you bought them really cheap, you're renting them out very well, but the capital appreciation is expected to be really good as well, because these properties have bottomed out, haven't they? So we've got, hopefully, what are your expectations for the future of the price of the property?
Well, basically, I'm expecting that price to go up to 70,000 in the next 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
So at the moment, we in a contraction environment. So once the expansion happens, after Brexit's finished and everything else, I'm expecting those prices to go up to around about 65 to 70,000 pounds.
Yeah.
For that same property.
And at the end of the mortgage, you'll have paid it off.
Yeah.
So that basically, it's almost like the tenants' rent, you're getting a few £100 a month profit.
Well, the way that we work it is we work very differently to most people, where we've got a separate account where all those rents go into, and we actually accumulate that to actually buy more. So
brilliant.
So we don't actually spend that. We don't use that money at all.
Yeah.
So on your crash course, we learned how to actually create different accounts and put the money into different accounts.
Yeah.
So we're following that exact same strategy
Well done,
for
mate.
all the houses, and that makes complete sense because we can see in that pocket we've got money for maintenance, in that pocket we've got money for buying new ones. And that's for spending on other things as well. So
fantastic.
It works 100%.
Love that.
So in the news, we're going to be talking about the country which has regained top position, actually the third year in a row it's been top, as Europe's hotspot, the best place to buy buy-to-let. Now, you don't know where this is.
Can I have a guess before you reveal?
Of course, I love guessing games. Go, get it. Let's see how many guesses it takes you. Go.
I would say Holland.
No.
It's got to be in Europe.
Well, it hasn't got to be in Europe, but it is the top position in Europe, so I would guess yes, it is in Europe.
Okay, Germany?
Nope.
It's not going to be the UK. That's too easy.
Wait, it's not going to be where?
It's not going to be the UK. It can't be, surely.
Well, you haven't guessed it yet, so I can't count that, whether it is
Like UK?
No.
Pass.
No. I've
So,
never even
it's
heard
not,
of that.
no, so where else is there then?
Where else is there? 3 countries in Europe, apparently. There's Holland, Germany, and UK, and that is about it.
No,
what
no, but
about
I'm just trying to
Spain,
think,
Portugal,
but
France, Italy, Poland, Bulgaria?
But who would want, like...
Oh, it's just offending an entire
No, but I'm just trying to
continent.
think, if you just look at populations and things like that, like Spain's not got as many people as the UK. So
the winner doesn't have as many places as the UK.
Good point.
What do you mean, good point? You don't know where it is.
Well, no, but it's a good point if the winner doesn't have as many places as the UK. I don't know. Hit me.
Ireland.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the actual question? What is the...
The question is, where's the worst place to buy property?
No, where's it's the best place for buy-to-let investments?
Best place for buy-to-let investments in Europe. Ireland's been
actually really
crowned
surprising.
Europe's most... Don't sound too surprised.
No, it's lovely, but I thought it's not somewhere that would have...
Yeah, investors in Ireland capitalise on the reasonable property prices, the stable euro, continued economic growth, and consistent rental demand.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's the last place I would have thought, to be honest. Not because there's anything wrong with Ireland, just because it's
the average rental return is nearly 8%.
Okay.
Which, to be fair, is low.
Yeah.
But
Is
it's
that
because most investors do it wrong, don't they?
Well, yeah. I mean,
If I was making
I would assume that's
7.86.
yield. That won't be return on investment. That'll be yield.
Which says rental return.
Yeah, that'll be most people work things out in yield, don't they?
Well, I don't.
I know I don't, but most people do.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, there you go. It's the best place to buy, and we've never bought there. And it's
Ireland's
right on our
actually very
doorstep.
nice. It's actually very nice.
Have you been to Ireland?
I've been to Dublin. That was a stupid Irish accent there, but I've been to Dublin.
Mm.
And that's about it really. And I've been to Northern Ireland, but obviously that's not Ireland. That's Northern Ireland. That's like saying I've been to Germany when I've got to France. Wrong country. But,
Yeah.
I've been to Ireland. I've been to Ireland. I've been to the island of Ireland. No,
It's
I've been
a
both
good place
north
to
and
buy
south.
property.
Yeah,
The investment
I
prices
tell you
at
what.
Dublin.
Dublin. You guys only have to put up with this for 40 minutes. Like, I've got these jokes all day. I'll tell you where it's good in Ireland, you know. You ever been to the Guinness factory?
No.
Ah, very good.
Do you want to know where's last? Last out of Europe.
Can I guess? No, I'm not going to guess. Go on, Bulgaria.
No.
France.
Yes.
Is it? Yeah, I mean, who would want to live in France, to be honest?
Well, I was actually thinking of buying in France.
Yeah, for holiday home.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you wouldn't want to live there, would you?
France is a pretty cool country, don't you think?
Only certain parts.
Well, isn't that the same everywhere? Not if the whole country was beautiful, then it would be amazing, wouldn't it? You're obviously going to get. There's only certain parts of the UK I'd want to live.
I'm digging myself a hole.
You
here.
are? I was thinking Paris.
No, seriously?
Yeah.
Would you like Paris?
Holiday home in Paris, don't you think?
No, you're crazy. Paris is.
Am I?
Paris
Am I crazy? Am I crazy, or is he crazy? I mean, if
man.
If you're going to
Seriously.
judge it off the
If
last
you're
5
gonna-
minutes,
listen.
you would definitely think he was crazy.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, but no. If you're going to move, if you're going to get a holiday in France, I would do it in the south of France somewhere. Not.
Paris is
Paris.
amazing.
It's a filthy city. It's filthy. Every time I've been to Paris, I've only been like 3 times. It's just minging. I'm not a fan of Paris at all.
The UK is not that great. 16th
Didn't say it was
on the list.
It's good though, but I mean 16. Okay. How many European countries are there? About 30. So we're mid.
On the list, we're about halfway.
Yeah, halfway.
Yeah. About halfway on the list.
That is interesting though that Ireland has retained that hotspot. How many years has it been the favourite place?
Top 4, if you were looking at buying abroad, are Ireland,
Yeah.
Cyprus, Malta, Portugal.
There's a lot of expats go to Cyprus, aren't there? Cheap houses. I've got friends that've got houses in Cyprus. Malta's obviously very close to Cyprus, and Portugal.
Yeah, but Ireland's been top for the last 3 years. Sorry.
Interesting. Do you know? I would never have thought Ireland was the place.
No, but it's interesting though, because
place.
obviously we just invest here in the UK.
Yeah.
But maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should be a bit more diverse. You know, with Brexit looming.
Man. Stop talking about friggin' Brexit. Who cares about Brexit? I'll tell you
Maybe
what,
we should be
though,
looking at
tell
Ireland.
You what, you say about investing abroad. There was a guy came to the crash course about 6-7 months ago, and he only invests in Germany. And he took what he learned from the UK about the UK market and about the crash course. He took it out and he now implements it all in Germany, and he's doing very well. Very well.
Germany.
Yeah. Where's Germany on the list?
It's near the bottom, 4th from bottom.
Okay. Well, he's doing well.
Well, we're doing well, and UK is not great. It's half of Ireland in terms of return on investment, according to this. So maybe we should be looking at
How have they
Cyprus.
calculated that, though? Is that on return on investment,
Return
or
on
is that on
investment, yeah. The things
number
they
of
take into
properties,
account are economic growth,
Mhm.
rental demand,
Yeah.
and property prices.
I mean, I didn't think there was that many people in Ireland, to be honest. There's not, like, the population of Ireland's not massive, is it?
I don't know.
I don't think
I'm
it
guessing
is.
it's not as big as we
No,
are.
nowhere near.
But does that matter?
No, I'm just curious to how they're actually working out the positioning. So obviously you've just told us, so that's cool. Well, it just doesn't make sense. It's quite a
Does
fairly
it shock you?
it's a
There's
fairly small place, isn't it?
4.784 million in Ireland.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not massive, is
It's not
it?
massive. But yeah, I mean, fair play to them. Good on you. Ireland's lovely. Fair play to you guys.
Yeah,
Keep going.
it's good. It's good. But does it make you want to invest abroad?
No.
Not at all.
No.
Why?
Because every horror story I ever hear about property investing, it always starts with when I invested abroad, or my Spanish properties, or no. I've got no interest in investing abroad, none whatsoever
I
at the
think we should
minute.
try and win him over.
Not even with Brexit. Then.
Not even with Brexit looming, yeah.
Nick, no.
No?
No, not at the minute. I'm not saying I will never. But yeah, I've got no interest at the minute to invest abroad.
Okay, I'm interested. I'm already a bit
Where
interested.
where would you think about investing?
I think I would invest somewhere that was good, but it could also double up as a holiday. Because I think you want to try serviced accommodation,
But
don't
is
you?
that emotionally buying? So
No.
Simon talks about buying with feelings and not
I'm-
emotions.
This is the formulas right here. You're the emotional one, choosing the UK
No, that's the
just because you
same,
live
isn't it?
here.
That's the same.
Just 'cause you
Feelings.
live here.
Yes, but it's like killing two birds with one stone.
No, it's not.
Buying up. Yes, it is.
How is it?
You
I'm
just said
I didn't
it
say
is.
I was going to stay there. I didn't say it was. I said I'm going to buy it for a good rental.
And for a holiday home.
I said a holiday home.
Ah, okay, right. So fine.
To rent
so as a
out.
holiday home to rent out.
I at no point said I was going
Right.
to stay there,
That's fine.
I might
My
do.
mistake.
but I never said that.
That's my mistake. That's fine. Because obviously Simon talks about killing two birds with one stone. People that buy like properties because that's where their child's going to university.
Yeah,
and
but
then-
to be fair, obviously, if you did, it tends to be. I am going to kill two birds with one stone now, so you can. I can jump off my high horse and you can jump back onto yours if you
Oh
want.
no, I'm not that bored. I just
Right,
thought you
but
might be.
if you bought somewhere, you could like go and stay there over like December and January.
Yeah,
It's really
it's quite-
cold over here. And
yeah.
it's cold here. Quite. If you went somewhere a bit warmer,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Malta. Was it Malta or Cyprus or something?
Both Malta and Cyprus were in there.
Yeah. So
I've got friends that have they've got an apartment in Cyprus. It's got they rent them out as holiday lets. I think there's 4 or 5 they've got in there, and they have one that they keep for themselves, and they go out there 4 or 5 months of the year just for the weather. They don't want to be here at winter.
Anna's uncle does that. He's got, but it was like he bought it. It's like a villa. It's like $100 grand,
yeah.
and it's got like a swimming pool and stuff. And he lives there
Yeah.
six months of the year.
So where would you would go somewhere hot? Have you got any particular favourites?
I'll be looking at where
Where they are.
I'd
Malta or
want to
Cyprus?
research it. I'd want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
research it. What was the top of the list? So you've got. I've gone off it now.
Dublin. That was top.
Dublin.
Oh,
Well,
not Dublin. Ireland. Ireland was top.
Ireland was top.
And then it was
Ireland's not hot though, is it?
Cyprus, Malta, and Portugal. Portugal would be nice.
Yeah.
Portugal's a very nice place.
Got a good contact in Portugal.
Have you?
Cyprus, Malta, Portugal.
Yeah.
Any of those three
Yeah.
would be a good shout.
I think any of them would be
So
good.
yeah, I don't know. Anyone here invested abroad? Love to hear your stories. Please
Yeah.
do share. Let us know. We've never done it, so we don't know what we're talking about at all, other than the fact that the stats that we've got here. But if anyone's done that, and don't share your horror stories because then it'll just prove he's right. Just want to hear your success stories, please. Prove him wrong.
Yeah, prove
my
me wrong.
aim is to get you investing outside of the UK.
Listen, I will one day, but just not at the minute.
Doesn't that go against everything you stand for? Saying one day, isn't it? Supposed to be you pick a day. You don't just say one day because one day turns into no day.
I agree with you on that.
You just
I'm
can't be
not
bothered,
gonna- I'm
can
not
you?
going to say anymore.
He just can't be bothered. He's just like, why am I even here?
No,
Right.
I'm only joking.
So that's in the news. It was now time for our questions and answers. Okay, thanks for sending in your questions. So I'll start off with on my Instagram. So had a question from how do you pronounce it? I think it's Mr. Rent Twistle, but it's all merged together. So
Let's have a look. Yep, he's asked questions before.
Mr. Rent Twistle. So Mr. Rent Twistle says, where are the pics from the London crash course? So I'm assuming, Mr. Rent Twistle, that you were a VIP, and therefore had a picture with Samuel. So if you go on the Property Investors with Samuel Leeds Facebook page, on the group, Property Investors with Samuel Leeds Facebook group, they were posted the other day. If you just search London crash course, you'll see them. They're posted on the 24th of Jan on there. So there's like 74 pictures or something on there. So there you go. Hopefully that answers your question. Next, have you considered to write your own books, Russell? And if so, what topics and when? Because that would be good. I have actually.
I know you have. I've read it.
Have you finished it now?
I've got most of the way through it. I'm not all the way. I'm
You
about
haven't
3/4
read
way.
any more since we last spoke, have you?
I have.
You haven't.
Just don't ask me any questions about it. But it's a good book. I've read it, and where I'm at is very good. Very good. So yeah, that'll be out very soon.
Thank you. So it's about how I've sort of built businesses, how to be an entrepreneur, everything really. So yes, I have written one, and I've pretty much finished it. It will be coming out at some point this year. So thank you. What's next, Nigel, for your question? Next, the Phil Brit. For someone who's just started to learn the trade of property investment and who has no properties yet, is it wise to get your first property as a buy-to-let, or better to buy your own property first where you live before buying a buy-to-let? I'll let you answer this.
If you go by the theory of all successful property investors, they rent where they live and buy investment properties. So personally, I think you're best to rent where you live and purchase a investment property, because the money you're going to make from that will cover your rental.
Yeah, I rent where I live. And the reason is, I'll explain why. There's a few massive benefits, in my opinion, for renting where you live and buying investment properties. First benefit is, what I find, I don't know whether you find this as well, but most people move. I move reasonably regularly every couple of years because my situations change, and I like change and stuff as well. So I move every couple of years, and the flexibility of renting is really good. It also allows you to try out lots of different houses and not being stuck with one and then thinking, I actually don't particularly like this area. I'm now stuck in Corby, and I want to move to Lichfield, and I've got to sell. I want a nightmare, for example. So it gives you a lot more flexibility, which is good. Second reason is, as a property investor, we talk about this a lot, formulas. You want to go with formulas, not feelings. If you're buying where you live, you're going to buy with feelings, and of course you are, because you've got to live there. You'd never buy with formulas because you've got to like it.
Yeah.
Which means that you're going to end up buying somewhere that's probably not a very good investment. It works for you, it's good for you, it's probably not a very good investment, so you'd be better off buying better investment properties and renting where you live. And thirdly, and the main reason for me, is I believe that it's cheaper. See, what happens is the rental market might be like this, so you've got, rents might start at around about, I don't know, 600 or 700 quid, 500 quid maybe, but then they only reach a certain point. It does, like, if you've got, like, the house I live in is, if I had a mortgage on it, the mortgage would be twice what I pay for the rent, because there's just no direct correlation between the rental value and the price of the house. So if you're buying an expensive house, if you're renting an expensive house, the rent tends to be cheaper than what you'd pay from the mortgage, and you don't need to put a massive deposit down. So if you want to live in a nice house, that also works out better as well. So
I think I'll just add one thing to that.
Go on.
You mentioned deposits there. You got to put big deposits. If you're buying somewhere, you're going to have you're going to have at least sort of 20% perhaps equity left in the property. So you're going to have that money tied up in the property. So you can't use that then to invest.
Whereas in investment properties, you tend to buy cheaper houses.
Yeah.
It just depends a bit on your lifestyle and where you want to live. If you're happy to live in a £100,000 house, then fine, buy it. But that's my opinion. So yeah, I would definitely buy an investment property, and I would rent where you live. A lot more flexibility and a lot better. I've got one more.
Go on then.
Shall I go for that? And then we'll go onto the Facebook Live. So this is from Neil I don't know if it's Chatham or Chatham. Enjoying the podcast each week. I'm concerned about buying investment properties for a business. I feel that a future government could increase tax rates, which could make it inefficient, and then it would be difficult to re-register a property back into your own name again. Am I being too risk conscious for thinking that? I hope to hear your thoughts on this. Well, what I would say is I would speak to your mortgage broker and see what works out best for you now. If you're, I'm guessing from what you've said that you're not particularly investing at the moment. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you've got a lot in your own name, but have a speak to a mortgage broker and see which works out better, because there are pros and it's very easy just to sort of say buy in a company, but sometimes that isn't the best advice. Sometimes it is better to buy in your own name, depending on your situation. However, what I would say is that all the successful property investors that I know are buying through limited companies, and they're buying a lot. So I wouldn't be too worried about it myself.
Also, I wouldn't be not doing something for fear that the government are going to change something, because you'd be fearful for the rest of your life. In all honesty, I think we are a massive advocate of creating your own economy and doing all that sort of stuff. So I wouldn't not do it just because you're scared the government are going to change something in the next 5 years, which potentially might never happen. But then you're 5 years down the line, you've not done anything.
True.
So I would just do it.
Good question, though. Good question.
Speak to your accountant, get the correct legal advice, and then maybe take it from there.
Sorry, did I say mortgage broker? I meant accountant earlier on.
Yeah, but a mortgage broker as well. Right, okay, so on Facebook Live, we've done a video this morning, and we've got some questions. So we've got a question from Liam McCarran. When LFC win the league, sounds like a football question. Is that a football question?
Liverpool, yeah,
So when Liverpool Football Club win the league, are they likely to win the league?
probably. They're
Right, okay.
they're right. Yeah, they're doing quite well.
Right, okay. So when Liverpool win the league, do you think it's a good idea to invest in the rent to service accommodation close to the stadium or in the centre? £6,000 for a ticket for the last game. Liverpool are great for worldwide marketing. Hotels are always fully booked on match day events. Just curious, I understand I would need a backup to make sure it's booked out, but how do match days or events affect rent to SAs and prices? I'd love to get your input. So basically, what he wants to do, he's thinking of buying a property or renting a property next door to Anfield, and he's asking for our input to what we think will happen with the rents.
Yeah. I think Liverpool are a pretty massive football club anyway, whether they win the league or not. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference long term, whether they win the league this year or not. They already sell out all their games, and I can't say I'm making much of a difference. It will put them a bit more on the map, I suppose, from a people wanting to visit the city point of view.
What I will say though, remember the winners on a Wednesday from a few weeks back, Declan Archer?
Yeah.
He has properties next door to Anfield Stadium. And
they work.
They're working very well.
So if you're in that neck of the woods and you know the area, then yeah, Liverpool. I know other people that do SA in Liverpool. It does work very well. So yeah. I don't think it's going to make a massive difference than winning the league though. If it was like a rubbish club like I don't know Villa, say, and they won the league, that would probably make a big difference. But Liverpool are kind of already a massive club anyway.
Right, okay, let's move on from that football-related question.
Yep.
Stu Hulley, Alistair, how do you market for your sourcing business, and what's been the best converting to generate leads?
Let me ask you a question. How much money do you spend on marketing each month for your business?
0. Big fat 0. Don't spend any money.
Networking?
Network like crazy. Technically, I probably do spend money on like traveling and fuel and things like that, but I don't actually pay for any adverts anywhere. Social media, places like that, but I don't actually advertise. I don't have any paid adverts. I don't have any paid sponsored ads or anything like that.
He does things like runs a podcast.
Run a podcast, write a book, attend lots of different networking events, attend lots of different seminars. I literally just put myself out there and just get on with it and tell people what I do. And I generate... so let's just say, how many investors do I add a week? I'm adding 60 to 70 investors a week to my database, just by networking and getting out there. So, Thomas Partwirl, I recognise this.
He shares our podcast a lot.
He shares our podcast loads. Big up, man. Thank you very much. So, great show. Very helpful.
Thank you, Thomas.
Great book, Alistair Cunningham. Thank you. I'm glad you found it useful. Did you like my book?
I haven't finished it.
Oh, great. Waiting for your book. He's asking about your book as well. Okay, you tune in every week and learn. Thank you. No worries, man. Your question is, what are the legal differences and requirements, and can you list them between multi-let and HMO? So what? We did cover that.
We covered that earlier on in the show.
Technically, there's no difference. We class anything that's under 5 beds as a multi-let, and anything over 5 beds as a HMO, because a HMO needs a license, a multi-let doesn't. The rules don't vary that much, because...
Well, they do.
They're all HMOs. No,
the rules vary massively because one needs a license and one doesn't.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I know, but you still need to have like fire safety and fire doors and multi-lets as HMOs. So
well, you don't.
Yeah, you do.
You need to have. They don't get. You should
don't get checked, but if you go by all the local authorities, they're all very insistent upon you having.
Well, look,
fire doors.
Here's the thing: if you have a multi-let and you don't make it fire safety and someone burns down, you're going to go to prison.
Yeah, you've got a landlord responsibility.
You've got responsibility as a landlord, but it's nowhere near as strict.
No, it's nowhere near strict, and it's likely you're never going to get checked. But we would always condone doing things correctly.
Yeah, of course.
We would always condone fire safety, fire doors, all that sort of stuff. Obviously, anything above 5 tenants of unrelated tenants, irrespective number of floors now, as of October last year, you have to have a HMO license. From that, you'll have to be inspected by the HMO officer. They'll come out, they'll check your property, make sure it's in good condition, make sure you've got fire doors.
They're normally pretty sound, aren't they?
They're really helpful as well. Yeah. Don't be put off by them.
No. I think it's a good thing.
Interest to make sure you do it right. So if you're buying a property and you're going to do it as a HMO that needs a license, I personally would get them, the HMO officer, to come out and look at your house before you start any work.
They're not like, do you know, normally when you get people that enforce stuff like that, and normally they're really
Jobs
like they're not like that, are they?
No, not at all. They're really, really helpful, and I think they charge like 70 quid to come out and tell you exactly what he's doing. So I would do that before you start looking at converting.
Great.
But Thomas, great question. Thanks for following us, and thank you ever so much for sharing, as you do always. Okay, so Nicola Marshall, how do you deal with the issues of getting your first rent-to-rent deal with no track record as a company? So getting your first deal with no company track record.
I've never been asked for a company track record when I've done it. I think it's your attitude. I think you go in there confident, and which obviously I do. And no one's ever said to me, well, I actually get asked this question quite a lot, and they ask me, and I'm like, well, if they're asking you that means there's doubt in their mind.
Yeah.
If there's doubt in their mind, that's because you've created it. I think you need just to be really confident, and you need to go in there assuming like you've done it a million times before, and you know exactly what's going on, and this is what I want, blah, 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 what this agreement in place for this reason. What have you got that will work for me? Type attitude. If you're speaking to an agent, and with a
direct to vendor, it wouldn't come up so much. I wouldn't think.
No, I don't think it's an issue. Honestly, I've never been asked.
Yeah, I've never been asked as well either. But I do know of lots of people that do get asked.
A lot of people do get asked, and the reason they get asked, I think, is because they're going about it in a way that creates doubt. Yeah,
so Nicola, what we'd suggest is, look, just be super confident and actually understand the process. So when you're going in and you're speaking to an agent, you're coming from a point of authority. So that you're going in there and you know the ins and outs of what you're trying to do, and then you're adding value to them. So this is the benefits to them. And if you can do that in a confident manner, you're more likely to get them on board.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got 3 more questions, if that's all right. So we've got one from Heidi Lynn Carey.
2 more, do 2 more.
No, there's 3. Hoping it's going to be a buyer's market after March then. That's more of a statement, but okay.
So I was there was 2.
Yeah. Did you read that one? Okay.
No, I was trying to hurry you up.
Sorry, man. Sorry. Right. Tony Grisdale. Question. If I've set up a limited company with myself 90% shares and my son has 10% shares, does this complicate the mortgage?
No.
No. Speak to your mortgage broker. They'll advise correctly on that. We don't like giving mortgage advice out on the podcast.
How old's his son?
It doesn't say.
No. I speak to your mortgage broker, but it shouldn't do.
I wouldn't say it's a massive issue. And final question.
The only thing that it will do is a lot of places will say if you're 25% or more, that person's got to be a guarantor, so it'll pretty much just be with you, I imagine.
Yeah, but like I said, I'll just check in with your mortgage broker. Yeah. Okay, so final question of today from Frank O'Neill. Afternoon, gents. Please, can you give us an idea of what sort of money you are making from your personal essays? Are they rented or bought properties? Thank you.
They are a mixture.
Yeah.
Of rented and owned. Personally, I'm starting to buy a lot more owned now.
You're buying them in City Centre in Birmingham.
Yeah.
I know you've got 3 or 4 that are going through.
They make a really... I mean, it varies. It's hard to put an exact figure on it because some months, like January, for example, it's
dead.
It is pretty quiet. So it's hard to put an exact figure on it, but the ROIs are very, very, very healthy. Obviously, if you're doing if you're doing a rent to rent, obviously the returns are incredible, but then you're not owning it, so you're not getting the capital appreciation.
Yeah.
What would you say average?
Well, I can tell you about my property in Oxford. Turns over about £3,500 to £4,500 a month, depending on how busy it was.
That's higher than the apartments because he rents for more.
Yeah.
Per night, but it's not far off. It's not far.
We know people that are making lots of money through it. But like I say, my personal properties, Oxford does £3,500 to £4,500 a month. Just to put it into context, January we've done 1,800 quid. So that's how quiet January is. But we're still in profit. We're not making much, but we still cover our costs.
The best way to work it out, just to give you a really rough guide, is what I do when I'm doing it is I work out so let's say it's going to rent out £100 a night. Okay, so you do what would full occupancy be? 100 times 30, which is £3,000. And then if you want to get your profit, I reckon if you times it by around about 40%, which takes into consideration voids and expenses, which would bring you down to about 1,200, that will give you a very rough idea of what a property would give you. So as long as you know the nightly rate, work it out a full occupancy rate, times it by 40%, and it gives you a very rough idea of what you're going to get.
Cool.
So like, and that's pretty accurate for the apartments in Birmingham. You know, making about a grand, 1,200 profit off them. Something along those lines, which is what most of ours. The Oxford one's obviously making a bit more because it's the entire house. Most of mine are just apartments. Making around about a grand, but it just depends. Makes more in some months, less in other months. It's hard to give you an exact figure without having a couple of years worth of.
Yeah, but I would say any SA apartment you're taking on, you can't look at it as a month by month basis. You have to look at it as a proper business. But I would look at it in quarters, or at least very minimum a quarter.
We really need to compare year on year.
Yeah,
I think look at the whole year, because then it takes into consideration every different month. They're all different, and then compare it next year and say, okay, well, what's January compared like to January?
Yeah.
So you're gonna take a couple of years really before you start noticing the patterns and the trends.
Yeah, but there will be ups and lows with it all. There will be months that are really busy and months that are quiet. So we're doing all right from ours, and I hope you are too, Frank.
Well, thanks ever so much for watching this week's show. Do not forget to subscribe. You can check us out on all the different places, as we always point out, and I can't talk. We'll be back next week, next Friday at 4 o'clock. So I hope to see you there.
See you guys.